The hidden cost of unlimited options. You open a dashboard with 50 filters, skim 12 tabs, then return to your inbox to answer 3 approvals that should have taken 1 minute, but somehow cost an hour. The problem is not laziness, it is the price of living inside too many buttons. More choice often feels less free because abundant options shift the burden of coordination onto attention, turning selection itself into unpaid work. A system that offers unlimited options is not offering unlimited freedom, it is offering a different allocation of costs. The explicit promise is autonomy, pick what fits. The hidden mechanism is load, time spent comparing, second-guessing, documenting, and defending the choice. Start with a constraint, attention is finite, and time is irreversible. Each additional option demands some evaluation, reading, testing, asking, or at least imagining consequences. When options multiply faster than attention, the system cannot be explored without dropping other duties. That is not a personal failure, it is a capacity limit. Now observe the trade-off. Abundance reduces the risk of picking something plainly wrong, but it increases the risk of never committing or committing while exhausted. With 3 options, you choose and move. With 30, you manage uncertainty. The trade-off is between breadth of consideration and depth of follow-through. Then notice the incentives. In many environments, it is rewarded to provide more options because it looks like service, fairness, or sophistication. A team that adds another setting can claim it supported more cases. A tool that adds another workflow can claim it respects more preferences. The cost of that flexibility rarely appears on the creator's ledger, it appears on the user's calendar. This is how a feedback loop forms. More options create more edge cases generate more requests justify more options. Over time, the product, process, or institution becomes an option factory. The system behaves as designed. It optimizes for coverage, not for clarity. Choice also becomes a proxy measurement. Instead of measuring whether outcomes improved, systems measure whether users engaged, how many configurations were tried, how many comparisons were opened, how many settings were toggled. Those metrics reward motion, not meaning. Selection becomes performance. Responsibility quietly shifts as well. When there is one default, responsibility sits with the designer. This is what we stand behind. When there are many settings, responsibility migrates to the chooser. If it didn't work, you should have picked differently. Unlimited choice can function as a liability shield. Finally, abundance changes the psychology of commitment through reversibility. If every decision can be undone, decisions lose weight. If decisions lose weight, they attract less care. If less care is taken, decisions lose clarity, and so on. Outcomes vary more, and higher variance triggers even more options to fix it. Another loop, reversibility invites casual selection. Casual selection yields inconsistent results. Inconsistency demands more controls. So the feeling of less freedom is not mysterious. It is the sensation of spending finite attention to navigate a landscape whose complexity is somebody else's convenience, somebody else's marketing, or somebody else's risk management. This mechanism touches values because attention is not only a resource, it is a statement of what matters. When a system consumes attention through constant selection, it is not neutral. It is shaping identity. The person becomes a manager of options rather than a maker of outcomes. Abundant choice also alters responsibility. If every action requires a preference expression, choose a plan, choose a workflow, choose a notification rule, then everyday life becomes a stream of microclaims about what you value. That can feel like freedom, but it can also feel like exposure. Every missed result looks like a personal failure of judgment rather than a predictable consequence of overload. Meaning is affected by the second-order effect. When selection is continuous, the mind stays in evaluation mode. Evaluation mode treats experiences as candidates, not commitments. It keeps the self slightly outside its own actions, always ready to swap, upgrade, optimize. Optimization pursued without reflection erodes meaning because it replaces what is worth doing with what option is best, and those are not the same question. In this light, freedom is not merely the presence of alternatives. Freedom is the ability to sustain attention on a chosen path without being repeatedly taxed by comparison, justification, and reconfiguration. A system can offer infinite options while quietly denying that stability. Consider a single recent moment when having options felt heavy rather than liberating, a meeting agenda with too many paths, a checklist with too many branches, a settings page with too many toggles. Notice what the work actually was, not the action itself, but the evaluation, the fear of regret, the need to defend the selection, the demand to keep scanning for a better alternative. Name the cost in plain nouns: minutes, tabs, notifications, approvals, explanations. Then examine what the system was optimizing: coverage, personalization, risk transfer, or engagement. This is not a call to reject choice, it is an invitation to see which choices are real and which are manufactured labor disguised as freedom. Clarity requires restraint, not in what is available, but in what is asked of attention. When options multiply without limits, the chooser becomes the bottleneck.